welcome to the Spiritual Handyman Internet TV show, and hope that you're joining us live with the video or re-listening on the podcast. Welcome to everybody. I want to remind you that we are available to you on the YouTube channel, also on Facebook. You can catch us on Instagram, and of course at thespiritualhandyman.com. All of those places allow you to share and comment and join and subscribe and push all the fun buttons and do all the cool things. So please participate and help build the community. It's all about the method that brings you the tools, because the magic is already in you. Today we are talking with Layne Dalfen, and she is a dream interpreter. She's been doing this for a super long time and is extremely talented. She's also got a book out, the Have a Great Dream workbook, and she'll be sharing a little bit more about the book and the workbook with us. And she does some really great things with live dream interpretation that she will be sharing. And of course, we'll be bringing you tools on how to interpret your dreams and what that can look like for you, and how to better understand what is really coming through and what information's going on. So with enough with me, who's not the expert, let's get to the lady that is. Layne Dalfen, everybody. Layne, introduce yourself, and please tell us a little bit about you.
Okay, well, hi, Jason. Thank you for inviting me. I think I'm going to start by making one small correction. That book that you held up that was called the workbook is actually, the subtitle has been changed, and it still looks exactly the same, and it's still got the same main title, Have a Great Dream, but now the workbook is called Book 1, The Overview. And the second book is also called Have a Great Dream, and it also has the same cover, except the subtitle is Book 2, A Deeper Discussion. So the first book just gives you the overview of how to do it, which is what we're going to talk about today. And so I suppose the most important thing I can say to you is that the dream at the first level is the conversation that you're having with yourself about a very specific current issue in your life this week that you are attempting to problem solve. And the second news I have to give you, which is the great news, is that the solution to the problem appears in your unconscious, of course, before it gets to your conscious. And so the dream reveals the solution. And what I do is teach people the language of metaphor. And I give you certain points of entry that you can use to help reveal what current situation in your life triggered that dream. Why did I have that dream last night? And I'm actually not a dream interpreter. I'm a dream analyst, because a dream interpreter, although my company is called the Dream Interpretation Center, but a dream interpreter, you tell them your dream and they tell you what it means. Whereas a dream analyst like myself, you tell me the dream, and I use 6 points of entry that we're going to talk about today. And they are a series of interview questions that I ask. And it's the dreamer that tells me what the dream is about, not me who tells them. It's just that I know the right questions to ask.
Well, thank you for clearing those pieces up. I knew there were 2 books, but I think I had it a little mixed up there, so appreciate that. And I think it's really important that the difference between an interpreter and an analyst definitely is a big thing. And having experienced your process personally, thanks to you, I would say that it absolutely was more of an analytical approach, because I was very active in the process, and
yes.
and it really hit home, to be honest, and it really helped me out to get things back into order and get them back into a place where I didn't feel so overwhelmed, which was what was really coming up in the dream. So the tools you're about to share with us, I know, are extremely powerful. So let's just get to the pro and get to you sharing those points of entry with us.
Okay, well, the first point of entry often is the feelings, which that doesn't mean you need to use that point of entry, because all the points of entry are good, and you could take the exact same dream, and that's what I do in the second book, is take maybe about 7 or 8 dreams are the same dreams throughout the whole book, but I look at them from different psychological perspectives and different points of entry, and it doesn't matter which one you use. Just take something that you feel attracted to. So when you do the feelings, you ask the dreamer, how did you feel in the dream? So maybe they're going to say, I felt betrayed. And I'll give you an example of a guy who's been married for 40 years, and he dreamt that his wife was sleeping with somebody else. And he woke up feeling really betrayed. And the dream was actually, when we discussed the feelings, what do you think is going on in your life this week? What situation are you feeling betrayed in? And the dream had absolutely nothing to do with his wife, but he nailed it because it was a business client that he had also been dealing with for the same amount of years that he had been married to his wife, and that client took the business somewhere else. And so that was what made him feel betrayed. And the solution to the dream was using, I'll teach you different methods of finding the solution, but one is to look at the dream as if it happened in waking life. And so my question to the dreamer, once he connected the dream to the situation that was the trigger, I asked him, if your wife really cheated on you, what would you do about it? And he said, I'd be talking to her about it. I'd be saying something. I'd be yelling at her, you know, all those things. And he needed to access all that potential with the client, He needed to pick up the phone and directly deal with his feelings and seeing what was that about, that order went to a competitor instead of to him. So another point of entry are the symbols. Now, let's talk about the symbols for a minute. Your unconscious is this incredible database that is holding every single memory and association that you have ever had since you're born. And so our associations are as unique to each of us as a fingerprint. And that's why you always want to ask the dreamer. It's not something that you could look up in one of those dictionaries. That's the reason why I wrote the books, because you can't look it up. So one of my daughters, for example, she's loves cats, but she's highly allergic to them. And so they're not good for her. They make her feel claustrophobic, and she has a bad allergic reaction and having trouble breathing and everything when she's with them, but she loves them. So she might dream about a cat if she's going out with a guy who she thinks she's in love with, but he's not good for her. And so her unconscious, because your unconscious gets it a lot faster than your conscious does. And if you understand what the heck you're trying to say to yourself, you can problem solve faster. And now if I dream about a cat, I don't really like cats that much. I find them very aloof and independent. And I'm not really comfortable with that. So when I dream about a cat, the first thing I'm going to ask myself is, who in my life this week is behaving in a particularly aloof and independent way, and I'm not that comfortable with it? Or I should say or maybe it's me that needs to be the cat. Maybe I need to be more aloof and independent in whatever situation triggered the dream. So that's what I love about dreams that's so fascinating, that you can use an image of a cat for 2 purposes simultaneously. It gets you in touch with the girlfriend who's too aloof and independent for me, and I'm not sure I want to be friends with her anymore. And it simultaneously has me trying to behave like the cat, trying to emulate those character traits, because that's what I need to do in my situation with that girlfriend, you see? Now, another point of entry. My favorite, play on words and puns. So here, one example is the woman who said, there were snakes all over the floor. I couldn't put my foot down. And I said, why? Who are you having trouble putting your foot down with? And it was about her husband that she wasn't speaking up to. Or if you're a person who says language, like if you use language like, I was so embarrassed, I thought I was gonna die. If you talk like that, you might go to sleep tonight and dream that you're dying, and you're not dying, you're processing that situation that made you feel so embarrassed. So we use puns and play on words constantly. Like the person who says, I really had to pee and I went into the stall, but I couldn't get out of the stall. And then I want to ask that dreamer, what are you stalling about?
That's why it's so much fun, right? That's why
it's so much fun.
It's why what you do is so fascinating, because everything, it's different all the time. Even though you're doing the same thing, it's just always so different. It's amazing.
Yeah, so when a dreamer is talking, I'm writing like a maniac, because I want to catch the dreamer's language, not my language, but the dreamer's language, because a lot of the time it really gives it away, and it's just, so it's always funny. It's always funny. And then the plot is the same thing that we used to do in English class. What's the story behind the story? I remember that from high school, that you would read a story and you'd have to talk about what's really going on there. And the example that I love for that is, you know, when you dream that someone else is driving the car. So that's a good example of the plot, because then you want to know why, who's driving the car. So the dreamer might be feeling not in control of who's driving that bus. Who's driving the bus? That's always what I want to ask. And sometimes they know the person who's behind the driver's seat. And that will make me go to a symbols point of entry to say very quickly, tell me 2 or 3 things. You know, they'll say like, my brother is driving the car. And then I'll ask them, tell me 2 or 3 things that come to your mind about your brother's personality. Is he shy? Is he assertive? Is he a go-getter? Is he lackadaisical? What kind of person is he? Because that's going to reveal what part of the dreamer is driving his own car, right? Because it's a part of your personality that comes in the dream. And the last point of entry, which we also do constantly, and you'll learn to do this in the book because I deconstruct dreams for you in book 1, the overview. You'll see lots of deconstruction going on there. And repetition is because we repeat. You remember, read it, write it, recite it. Read it, write it, recite it. That's how we learn. And we do that in our unconscious as well. So I remember years ago, because I love radio and I'm very at home on the radio. I've done hundreds of shows and I love it. But I'm not that comfortable on TV. I've done it, but the first time I was going to go on TV was about 18 years ago when my first book came out. And leading up to all during the Christmas holidays, because I was going to New York in January, and all leading up to through the Christmas holidays, you know, I would dream. Once I dreamt about a ghost. And what does that mean? It means I'm scared. And then I'll dream about that I'm standing on the abyss of a cliff. And what does that mean? It means I'm scared. And then closer to the morning, maybe I dreamt about my grade 5 teacher. And what does that mean? It means I'm scared. So I'm saying I'm scared, I'm scared, I'm scared. But I'm using 3 completely different images. And that's how sometimes you catch the meaning of the dream, because we repeat. Inside the same dream, we also repeat. And so once you deconstruct and you see what you're saying to yourself, that it's not really a ghost, it's really I'm scared, and it's not really a cliff, it's I'm scared, and the grade 5 teacher is that, then you can ask yourself what's going on in your life this week that's making you feel afraid.
It's so like communicating with your guides. It's almost like you hit yourself over the head with it until you recognize.
Yes.
You must pay attention. You must pay attention. And those are such great tools and techniques for people to get into their dreams and to, like you said, find a point of entry so that you can gain some understanding. One thing that I get asked a lot in my practice with clients and with my colleagues is how what would you suggest over all these years of experience are some ways other than, let's say, just journaling to access and remember our dreams, to bring those into our waking state so that we can have the advantages of solving those problems?
Right. Well, one of some of my favorite exercises come from Robbie Bosnack, who's an incredible Jungian analyst who specializes in dream analysis as well. And he says that you could sit in a chair and take your watch off and look at your watch and check out. It's funny because I just took my watch off and just like check the hands and the face, turn it upside down, look at the band, and then close your eyes and look at your watch in your mind's eye. And then you can open your eyes and look in the room, look at the paintings, the pictures, the furniture, and just take every detail that you can about that room, and then close your eyes and walk around the room in your mind's eye, because you're using that same facility to remember a dream. It's that same thing about, sometime I wake up in the morning and I'll say to myself, where was I? Like, where was I just a minute ago? And that's that same movement about, where was I a minute ago? And that's the same thing about opening and closing your eyes. So you're exercising that ability that you have. And then, of course, there's what Freud said, which is so simple and smart, is intention. Leave a pen and paper beside the bed and make a decision that in the next few days, I'm going to remember a dream. And you can even try and visualize yourself reaching for the pen when you get up in the morning, and you'll catch a dream in the next few days. And don't feel like you need a story with a beginning, a middle, and an end, because one picture really is worth 1,000 words.
That's really powerful that you shared there at the end. It's not feeling like it has to be complete. It doesn't need to be a whole picture. Just the one picture is plenty to pull from, especially when you address the points of entry that you've shared with us,
right.
Because within that picture, I'm sure there's plenty of that available. Right. So one thing I'd like to add that I found that I've shared with people that really works is through the intention as well, but a little bit different process is taking a crystal of some kind. I suggest, if you're just getting started, a quartz crystal, because it does amplify energies, and it also kind of works with everything. It's sort of an all-encompassing stone. And spending a couple of minutes with it before you go to bed, just really looking at it and feeling it, and like you said, picturing it in your mind's eye, feeling the texture, and then setting it next to your bed with the intention of, I'm going to get up in the morning and do the same thing. And what I've found, and others have found, is that it creates continuity. So it actually helps you bring through that intention everything that you've experienced in between the period into the morning. So when you pick up the crystal again, suddenly you have access to some of the dream.
Right, that's great. And I took a note about that because I didn't know that, and I always like to learn tricks along the way.
Yeah, it was shared with me in I don't remember who shared it with me, and then as I explored it and helped others explore it, it just expanded a little bit. So I've just found that it's useful. So so good. So we both got to help each other today. I love it when that happens.
Yes, and if we still have time, I'd like to just touch a little bit deeper, so that you really do understand the backdrop of what's really going on. Because I haven't quite really said that. Yep. So let's go a little deeper for a minute so you'll understand why I really do dream analysis. Because when we're born, we come into the world whole, and we have a plethora of potential. I call it potential. We have the ability to be shy, to be assertive, to be selfish, to be giving, to be a hero, to be a chicken. Maybe you're the comedian in the family. Maybe you're the person who's more serious. And all these parts of ourself are there for the taking. And the people that bring us up teach us that it's better to be one way than another way. And so we become what Frederick Perls called over-invested in certain aspects of our personality and under-invested in other aspects. I like to call it over-exercised and under-exercised, because that's what it is. Like, your over-exercised parts are your knee-jerk reaction. Like, if you're a yeller, if you're a screamer, and somebody aggravates you, your knee-jerk reaction is to fight back right away. And, you know, and so that doesn't, for me, there's no good or bad or right or wrong. For me, it's about appropriateness. Is the response appropriate to the current situation? And the problem with knee-jerk reactions is that life throws us every different kind of situation, and you want to be available, not to be always responding with that same boring, over-exercised part of yourself, because it doesn't always fit, right? And so, did I say that the people that bring us up teach us that it's better to be one way than another?
Mm-hmm.
Yes?
You did share that.
So I'm going to give you an example and finish it with a dream.
All right, perfect.
If you were brought up as in a home with siblings, you probably got the message that it's not okay to be selfish, because you heard things from your parents like, go share your toys with your brother, go look after your sister, and your whole life experience is about sharing your parents' attention. So you become, doesn't mean it fits for everybody. It's not a one size fits all, but it stands to reason that those are the people who might grow up, and we all know people like that, myself included, who have trouble saying no because they're so used to giving. They're over-exercised in that. And similarly, conversely, if you were brought up as an only child, you don't have to share your parents' attention or your toys, and you get very comfortable about taking things for yourself. And so this dreamer, Stephen, dreams that it's a one-picture dream. He's climbing up this huge ladder, and there's paper everywhere, paper all over on both sides of the ladder, and it's blocking the stairs, trying to get him. He's trying to get higher, and the paper's getting in the way. And at the top of the ladder sits the fellow who was his college roommate, who he hasn't even seen in 20 years. And that's who's encouraging him up the ladder. And so the dream turned out to be about that the dreamer had work all over his desk, papers everywhere. And the day before the dream, his friends called him and invited him to go see a movie together. And he just doesn't have what it takes to say no. He always wants to accommodate. And he does come from a family full of siblings. And so he didn't say no. And when he went to sleep, because when we were analyzing the dream, I asked him, using a symbol's point of entry, tell me the first 2 or 3 things that come to your mind about that roommate. And the first thing he said to me was he was a real selfish, take care of me first kind of guy. And so he's describing what Carl Jung would have called his shadow. That's the dreamer's shadow, because he's somebody that doesn't know how to be a take care of me first kind of person. But that's who he needs to access, because that's who's encouraging him up the ladder. And so because he understood that he wants to exercise an unfamiliar character trait of his that went to sleep in the house he grew up in, now he has the opportunity to use that. And the following morning, he called his friends and he said, I'm really sorry, but I've got so much work on my desk, and that's where I want to be. I'm not going to join you for a movie tonight. So that's why I do what I do. I do this because you do not need to be stuck with the same responses to life situation that you've had for the last 20 or 30 or 40 years. There's a plethora of other possibilities, and they all appear in the dream, and not random, not random. Like certain personality traits show up because they are the solution to this week's problem that you're having. That's what she had to say 45 years later.
You give so much value in the simple things that you share, Layne, and your passion is there and your message is there. And I want to say thank you on behalf of all people who have enjoyed your book. I know just in the conversations that we've had and the the analyzation, got it, that you did for me, that I look at my dreams a little bit differently, and I look at them all as opportunities. And there's so much information there now that when I have one, yeah, it's like, oh, okay, all right, what is it? Where's this is an answer, and I know what it looks like. Now I just have to find it. So thank you for being that person and bringing that to the world. What I'd love for you to do is share how people can get your book, where they can get a hold of you if they should want to set up a session, or just tell us more about how we get to you.
And the answers are all the same. You can find me at haveagreatdream.com, and the books are called Have a Great Dream. So I'm pretty easy to find, and I call it haveagreatdream.com, and that's why I named the books the same name, because all dreams are great, especially nightmares. And if you're a person who loves games and puzzles, you are gonna love Dream Analysis, because that's what it's really all about. And I think that's part of where my passion comes from, is not only to be able to access all that stuff that's right there available to us, but just to be able to use it. So if you go to my site, you'll find lots of different things that you can do. You can sign up for a free course. You can book a private consultation with me. And if you can't afford a private consultation, then you can agree to come on YouTube with me, and we can do it live.
I'll tell you guys, that's what I did. I did the live YouTube, and it was so much fun. It allowed me to be completely transparent and to be honest with myself. And I was kind of in the same place. I had stuff all over my desk. I was completely buried, and I was doing my best to sift through it. And then once I had a better perspective, it was just easy to get things done and to get where I needed to go. And Layne, you're the one who helped me with that. So thank you so much. And thank you for being on the show and participating and bringing these amazing tools to people. I would love to have you on in the future, because I just adore what you do, and I find you and your work fascinating. So
you're such a doll. It's just an absolute pleasure to have met you.
Oh, thank you. Sweet. Thank you. That is a mutual feeling for sure, Layne. And thanks again for being on the show, folks. I will make sure that you have the contact information and anything else that you might need from Miss Layne to get connected, or check out the YouTube channel where you can watch the live dream interpretations for yourself. You can get a lot out of that. So it'll be down in the description for this episode. And please use the buttons, have some fun down there with the like, add, join, share, whatever button comes up, click it and do something fun. And we will see you in the next episode. Thanks for joining us for the Spiritual Handyman internet TV show. We'll see you next time.